Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our 5th episode of the If I Were You show. My name is Fatima Jangana. I am a financial coach and the founder of Finance Girly, where I help Muslim women just like you take control of their financial picture. This show is centered around you. The idea behind the show is that every week people send in their questions, ask money-related questions, asking me what I would do if I were in their shoes. My responses come from personal experiences and best practices when it comes to money. So it's a judgment-free zone, sister to sister, just your homegirl chatting with you here. All right, let's get to the first scenario I have for today. It says, I make more than my husband. How do we split expenses fairly without it feeling weird or unequal? There are a few ways to go about this question. First and foremost, we need to acknowledge the responsibility that a man has in Islam when it comes to taking care of his wife. So providing for his wife. That is something that we cannot just overlook because it is a right that Allah has ordained upon men and their duty towards their wives and taking care of them. That's the first thing I would say. So when it comes to your basic needs, that's your food, your shelter, your clothing, and the like, that is your husband's responsibility to take care of. Then we talk about other expenses. So these are, let's say, the vacations. These are other things, let's say a car or other conveniences that you want to have that are not your need, but they make your life easier. If you're making more than your husband and he's okay with it, this is a unit, you're a family, you're together, then you can opt in to cover some of those expenses fully or partially. That is assuming that your husband is already taking care of your basic needs. I think I lost the connection there. It should be back on. Okay. Now, if he's not doing that, then that's a larger conversation to be had. How comfortable are you contributing towards the financial obligations of the household? If that's something you're okay with and your husband is okay with that, and you see it as a way of charity and generosity towards your family, taking care of your family and supporting your husband in a time wherein he cannot fully take on the responsibility of the entire household and what it entails, then that's I don't see any issue with that. I'm not talking from an Islamic perspective, but just as a human speaking, when it comes to the unit of marriage, because it is collaboration, it is togetherness. So if that's something you're both comfortable with, then I see no issue in you contributing towards the household if this is something you're both okay with. So that's the first thing to consider. Question number 2 is, I always start budgeting but fall off after 2 weeks. How do I build a system I'll actually stick with? I'll say the first thing to do is, before you create your budget, you need to make sure that you're going off of reality, not your ideal, because that is one of the ways to avoid this falling off that you're experiencing. So when you're planning out your budget for the next month, look at your previous expenses. Look at the actual numbers, not what you feel you're spending your money on, not what you think you're spending your money on. Get the numbers, because those are going to give you facts to work with. That's the first place to start. Then, when you're making those tweaks, if you're in a position wherein you're trying to cut down your expenses for whatever reason, when you're making those tweaks, make sure that you're doing them in increments. I always give this example. If you're someone that goes out to lunch with your coworkers 5 days a week, it might not be the most practical thing to cut that from 5 to 0. Make the incremental change, go from 5 to 3. And the list goes on with so many other examples wherein you can implement something like this. If you're someone that always shops, every single month you get a new handbag, or every single month you travel, then don't just go cold turkey on those habits. Make sure that they're incremental, wherein you're still fulfilling that urge that you have to spend or to do whatever it is that you do with your money that you're trying to tweak, but you're making progress towards your financial picture. So that's going to give you the quick wins that you need, the reinforcement that, yes, I'm getting better with money. And slowly but surely, you will get into the rhythm of contributing towards your financial goals without feeling fully deprived. I would also highly dive very deep into this issue. Like, why are you falling off? That's the big question here. Why are you falling off? Is it because you're being unrealistic? Is it because you're setting and forgetting your budget? So you're setting it at the beginning of the month and just, I'll see you next month. Is that the reason? Or is it something else? So figure out what the issue is. Be realistic. Be adaptable. And give yourself some grace, because it takes a long time in order to get familiar with this budgeting system. Some say up to 3 months. That's the second question. Question number 3. I'm scared to even check my bank account. How do I stop avoiding my money and start owning it? So the truth of the matter is, avoiding your finances, in my opinion, creates more anxiety than facing it, even if it's bad. Because when you're avoiding it, you don't know what's going on. It could be better or worse than what you're presuming that it is. So the first thing I would say is to make your environment very fun. So if you're someone who loves, your candles to be on, lights off, and have something in the background, if that's your thing, create that environment and then just open your bank account for the first time. And at this moment, what you're doing is you're just getting curious. Don't go in with too much judgment of yourself. Don't judge yourself too quickly or too hard. So pull up those bank statements. Just review them. You're not here to judge yourself. You're not here to shame yourself. You're just here to get clarity. And you're here to grow. Because if you didn't want to grow, you wouldn't care about what's going on. But knowing what's going on with your finances from a factual standpoint is key. It's the most important step when you're starting to build a financial plan, because you need to know what you're working with. So create a calm and soothing environment for yourself. Have a judgment-free mindset. Approach this with, I'm getting curious. I'm not here to judge myself. And number 3, detach the emotion from the reality. You're just here to get facts so that you can focus on what's next. Okay? That's number 3. The next question number 4 says, is it worth paying extra for convenience like Uber Eats or ride shares? Or is it silently draining my goals? It's a very subjective question. It depends on what situation you're in. If you are in a financial situation wherein you're paying for these with cash, you have your head well above water, then sure, like, the conveniences of life are to be enjoyed if you can afford it. So there's nothing wrong with spending on Uber Eats, DoorDash, Amazon, extra purchases, whatever it might be. Getting those conveniences of life, there's nothing wrong with doing that if you can afford it. I am not someone who believes in cutting expenses for the sake of cutting. If you have the ability to spend money, you're not breaking your back, you're not stealing from your future, you're not ruining your financial picture, I see why not. And of course, not in something that's impermissible. So enjoy the conveniences if you're able to afford them. No problem with that, in my opinion. Question number 5. Everyone around me is buying homes. How do I stop feeling behind just because I rent? So there's this common misconception that renting is throwing money away or just wasting money, which doesn't really make any sense. Because, okay, maybe you're not building towards an asset like a home, as many would define it to be, but you are you're fulfilling the need of shelter and a home. So your place that you're renting is serving a purpose. And just because you're not in the place of home ownership does not mean you're a failure, does not mean you cannot build wealth. Owning a home is expensive. There are lots of expenses and restrictions, actually, that come with owning a home that do not come with renting. The ease of being able to get up and move. The fact that you can always call maintenance, depending on the rental place that you are in. But generally speaking, resolving maintenance issues is much easier when you're renting versus when you own the home. Because when you're renting, it's the landlord's issue. When you're the landlord, that's your problem. So There is a choice for different seasons in life, and home ownership is not always for everyone in every moment. So look at your reality, embrace your reality, and accept it. And if people are going to speak regardless. If you have a credit card, they'll talk. If you don't have a credit card, they'll talk. If you're going to college and doing a master's, they'll talk. If you don't do it, they're going to talk. So people are going to speak regardless. That should not be your concern. If you are comfortable with the place that you're in, just put your hands up and leave the rest of it alone. Keep doing what you're doing. That's the most important thing right now. Moving along is the buying homes. And for those who are in the chat, assalamu alaikum. If you have any questions, feel free to send it in the chat. And I will address them. Okay. What's a realistic starter emergency fund goal if I'm just getting financially stable? A good rule of thumb when it comes to emergency funds is to have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. People have varying levels of risk tolerance. They have varying levels of conservativeness or the lack thereof. So, when we talk about 3 to 6 months of expenses, some would define that as your bare bones expenses. These are the things that you need to survive. No convenience, no luxuries, nothing. The basic things. Your house, your food, your transportation, the list goes on. But the bare minimum that you need to survive. Whatever that adds up to, multiply that by 3. If it's $2,000 times 3, you have $6,000. That is the bare minimum you need in an emergency fund. If you want to double that, then you have $12,000. You have 6 months of expenses. That's that. That's the very, very comfortable. That's the very, very like the bare bones that you would need. Now, if you want to take it a step further and say, if I lost my job, I don't want to just be able to have a place to live and that kind of stuff. I want a little bit more than that. I want to be able to order Uber Eats every now and again. Or I want to still keep around my subscriptions that I have. Then you're not going off of your bare minimal expenses. You would add a little bit more luxury than that. So let's say your luxury expenses add up to $500 a month. So now we're moving from $6,000 a month, $6,000 total to $7,500 total is the bare minimum you need in your emergency fund. Times 2, that will be $15,000. So that's how you're looking at it. There are different ways to go about it. Some people I've seen actually have a year's worth of savings. That's how conservative they are. So bare minimum would be to have the $2,000 if your bare bones expenses comes up to, the bare minimum would be to have the $6,000 if your bare bones expenses comes up to $2,000. Okay? Moving on, it says, should I aggressively pay off my student loans or just do the minimum and invest the rest? My opinion on this is quite controversial, some would say, because I believe in paying off your debts before you invest, in most cases. Because debt is an obligation and investing is a privilege. When you owe someone money, you're obliged to pay them back. So, in this case, you have student loans, and people will say, "Oh, it's an institution. It's not someone." It's still you signed. I'm going to pay this back. So, own up to your word and actually pay it back. Now, if you have your student loans, aggressively pay them off. If it's $10,000, aggressively pay them off. If it's $15,000, aggressively pay them off. Especially if that has interest. Especially if it has interest. Pay off your student loans, and then the time will come when you can start to invest. There are some nuances to this. If someone went to medical school and they have $200,000 worth of debt, that would be a different conversation. Okay, I went out for a second. Yeah, so if someone went to medical school, $200,000 worth of debt, it would be slightly different, but still the same idea. But you should be approaching this with the mindset of, I owe someone money when I take on debt, so I do need to pay it off before enjoying the privilege and the benefits of investing. Okay? That is number 7. The next question is it worth getting a credit card if I don't technically need one right now? Another controversial take that I have, you do not need a credit card in 2024 in the United States to survive. You don't. You do not. Does it make life more convenient and easy? Maybe. Yeah, I can agree to that. But in order to say that in the US today, you cannot survive without a credit card, it's just bogus. It's not true. It's just not. I don't condone, I don't encourage credit cards because of the fact that they are tied to interest, even if you're paying it off every single month. I still don't believe in credit cards. I don't have one. I've never had one, and I pray to never have one. Because you're signing up for an agreement that says, if I don't pay this off within this date, within this time frame, then I'm going to pay interest. That's the agreement you're making. So personally, I don't have a credit card. I don't encourage people to have a credit card. I'm very open about the fact that I do not encourage credit cards, and I actually denounce credit cards. I should say it that way. So, is it worth it? No. Next question says, what are 3 questions I should be asking my employer about retirement, about the retirement plan they offer? So, 3 questions. I would say number 1 is there a match? So ask them, is there a match? Now, for those who don't know, some employers offer to match your contributions towards your retirement accounts up to a certain percentage. This is often an employee benefit. So let's say you work at company X, and company X offers your retirement match up to 3% of your salary. So let's say you make $100,000 and you invest 5% of your salary, $5,000. Your employer says, I'll match you up to $3,000. So that additional $3,000 that your employer is giving you is a benefit because it's free money. It's coming from their funds. It's not coming from your funds. It's coming from theirs. So that is the first question I would ask. Is there a match? If so, how much? Number 2, I would ask what plans they have. Do they have a 401k? Do they have a 403b, a Roth IRA? These are all different retirement plans. So a 401k is an employer-sponsored plan. So you cannot have a 401k outside of your employer. There are solo 401k options, but that's beside the point. This is through an employer. Your employer puts in a percentage sometimes, and you put in the money sometimes. Now, there are other plans as well, 403b. This is often through nonprofits and the like, wherein they offer this type of plan to you as an employee. 457b as well is also another option, and the list goes on about the different types of retirement accounts that are there. So ask your employer what type of accounts that they offer. That's number 2. Number 3, I would ask, is there a brokerage option? So the reason why I ask this is because some employers, they would give you a 401k, for example, and they give you access to invest in up to 50 different types of mutual funds. There are 50 mutual funds, and you can choose from whichever one you want. I would ask, am I only limited to this 50, or is there a brokerage option? Can I create a brokerage account within my 401k so that I can choose funds outside of the 50 that you're offering me? This is especially important when you're trying to find Sharia compliant investment options. Let's say your employer, the 50 options that they have, none of them are Sharia compliant. Then if they give you access to create a brokerage account, then you have access to the entire market, and you can choose a Sharia compliant mutual fund or an ETF. So that's the 3rd question I would ask. Number 1, is there a match? Number 2, what kind of accounts do you guys have? And number 3, What options do I have to invest? And is there an option to create a brokerage account within my 401k plan or whatever plan it is that they offer? Those are the 3 questions I would ask. Good. That was a good question. Number 4. Okay, this one's, I kind of answered this one in the previous one, or number 11. SubhanAllah. How do employer matches work, and what does it really mean to be leaving money on the table? Okay. So, employer matches work like this. You work at company X. They say, for being our employee, as a benefit for working here, if you invest in your retirement account, we will match your investment up to a certain percentage. Using the $100,000 example, you earn $100,000 and you invest 5% of your income. You choose to invest 5% of your income. Your employer says the benefit is that we will invest up to 3% of your income. So you're investing $5,000 a month. Your employer is investing $3,000 a month. This investment, this money is from their own funds. It's not coming from your income, the one that they're investing. So it is free money, because not only are they giving you $3,000 into your account, but all the growth that money experiences over the years and hopefully decades of you working, all of that money is growing free. You know, all the $3,000 accumulated over so many years, this is a great benefit. So that's why some people say you're leaving money on the table, because it's free money. They're literally giving you free money from their own funds as a benefit for working for them. And when the time of retirement comes, you would be able to withdraw that money and fund your lifestyle. So that's how that works. Next question is, I just started a new job. How do I prioritize between paying off debt, saving, and contributing to retirement? Let's see. I would start by saying, how much do you have in savings, if anything? If you don't have anything in savings, I would build a minimal emergency fund. Maybe 1 month worth of expenses, just something. But have some money saved for the day when something happens that you do not expect. So that's the first thing I would do. Have money to the side. Once I have that, now I'm not trying to build a 6-month emergency fund in this moment, because I have a lot of debt. So I have that bare bones savings account, put it to the side, inshallah interest free. And then I would start tackling my debt with a vengeance. Pay it off, pay it off, pay it off, pay it off, pay it off. Because going back to what I said earlier, debt is an obligation. You are obliged to pay off your debts. You're taking a loan from someone, agreeing to pay it back. So when you are in debt and you owe someone money, be sure to take care of that. Whereas retirement, investing, is a privilege. So take care of your obligations before you enjoy the privileges that you have in life. I would start off with saving the bare minimum, then paying off debt, and then if you can simultaneously do it, save for an emergency fund while contributing towards your retirement account. But if you cannot, for whatever reason, then buckle up and double down on saving. But especially when it comes to retirement, if you have access to that free money that your employer is giving you as a match, I would at least contribute towards that while I'm still saving and building up my emergency fund. So that's how I would prioritize those 3 things. Next question says, I got a raise. How do I avoid lifestyle creep and actually make the most of it? So it depends on where you are financially. If you don't have any debt, you have your savings, you're contributing towards retirement, then yeah, let your lifestyle creep up on you a little bit. You can boost up the other things, especially when it comes to investing, but it's nothing wrong with enjoying the luxuries of life if you can enjoy it, if you can afford it. Nothing wrong with that. So that's my answer if you're in that solid financial situation. If you are not, then use this opportunity to double down on your financial goals. Work harder than you've ever worked. Put the money to the side. Act like you didn't get the raise. Put that towards the goal that you're working on. Ideally, you should have one goal at a time. You should have an annual goal, or what I prefer is a quarterly goal, wherein you break down your annual goal into 4 and you focus on the quarter that's in front of you. So use that money wisely and look at it as an opportunity to attack your financial goals even harder to get where you're trying to get to, inshallah. Okay, so we're getting to the end of the questions that we have here. Next question says, what's the smartest way to handle irregular income, like freelance, contract, or commission-based pay? Good question. If you earn different amounts in different months and you don't earn the same salary every single month, you're not exempt from budgeting. There's still a way around that. I have 2 ways of tackling this. The first one is to create a budget based on the bare minimum that you typically earn. So if your income ranges from $4,000 to $2,000, you should create a budget based on $2,000, because you don't know how much you're going to earn. A budget is created before the month begins. Let's say you create the budget based on the $2,000 and the 15th comes up of May and you find out that actually I'm going to earn $3,500 this month. Now you can budget that $1,500. You can allocate duties and assignments to that $1,500. But until you confirm how much you're going to earn, budget based off of the bare minimum that you earn in any given time. That's the first method. The second method is to create a budget based on the average. Let's say you earn sometimes $2,000, sometimes $4,000, but on average, most months you earn $3,000. Again, this is not a feeling of how much you earn on average. This is based on facts. You go to your past pay stubs, you go to your past income statements and see what the average is. Create a budget based on the average. Let's say it is April of 2025. You earn $3,000 and that's what you budgeted for. All good. May comes around, you earn $4,000. Woohoo! You earn more than you planned. Well, this is not the time to enjoy that additional $1,000. That $1,000 those $1,000 is going to be moved. It should be that $1,000 is going to be moved to what I call an LMF, a low month fund. So you put that $1,000 in a low month fund, and the purpose of this fund is to supplement your income from months wherein you earn less than expected. So April you earn $3,000, May you earn $4,000, June you earn $2,000. That $1,000 from May is there so that you can supplement your income for June. That is the second way to go about it. So the first method to tackle irregular income is to create a budget based on the bare minimum. And the second one is to create a budget based on the average and to adjust and to put aside any additional funds that you earn. That's what I would say. Okay. The last question that I will answer today is, my job doesn't offer a retirement plan. What options do I have to still save for my own future? If you're in the US, you can create an IRA, an individual retirement account. This is an account you have independent of an employer. We mentioned earlier that a 401k, you have to have an employer to get that, but an IRA, you do not need that. So you would create an account with a lot of brokerages and firms that offer this. So whether it's Wahid, they have this, Fidelity, TIA, they have these options. Charles Schwab, I think they even have one. And the list goes on. You can create an IRA with them. And then once you're approved, it usually takes a few days to perhaps some weeks. Once you have that set up, then you set up the investments. So you select your investments, you add money to your account, and you make sure that it's invested. You can even do a dollar cost average, which is that every single month, regardless of what's going on in the markets, you're investing the same amount of money. If the markets are up, you're investing the same amount. If the markets are down, you're investing the same amount. If the markets have crashed, you're investing the same amount. You do not care what's going on. You are investing you're investing the same amount of money every single month. And some of these accounts, most of them actually, I think, at least in my experience, would allow you to be able to dollar cost average with your investments. So that is how you still invest in a retirement plan, which would be with an IRA. There are other investments that you could have. You don't need to have with retirement specifically, but you could just have a brokerage account that you create. It's not tied to anything retirement related. And you could invest in that. And that as well, you could have a dollar cost average practice that you implement. So that is what I would say for that question. Does anyone have any questions in the chat? Anything to follow up on here? Good questions. I actually really like the questions for today. If there are any graduates, congrats. May Allah bless the knowledge that you have accumulated. Ameen wa iyaki, Sabrina. Thank you for joining. May Allah bless the knowledge that you've accumulated, allow you to be able to benefit the ummah with what you've gathered, and take care of your family, take care of yourself, and be of benefit to yourself and to others. Ameen. So massive congrats. I hope you guys actually celebrate this achievement that you have accomplished. All right, and we will wrap up this session. I will catch you all next week. If you have any questions, be sure to click the link in our bio. You can submit it in there. If you want a one-on-one coaching session, you can schedule a consultation with me. I can learn about what's going on and see how I can be of service to you. Take care. Enjoy your Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. Assalamu alaikum.